Hey, so there's a lot going on right now with the team, and honestly, it feels like something big is about to happen. You can tell they're not just sitting back waiting for the draft. They're making moves behind the scenes, exploring options, and really trying to set themselves up in the smartest way possible. It's one of those moments where every decision could shape what this team looks like for the next few years, and as a fan, you can't help but pay close attention to every little rumor coming out. Now, I gotta ask you, are you feeling good about the direction they're heading? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to leave a like if you're excited for what's coming next. The Seattle Seahawks are actively working the phones right now, and everything indicates that this team is preparing to make a significant move as the NFL draft approaches, with multiple reports confirming that Seattle is not just open to trading back, but aggressively pursuing it. The organization currently holds the 32nd overall pick, and with only 4 total selections in this draft, the front office led by John Schneider is clearly signaling that standing still is not part of the plan. This is not speculation anymore, this is strategy unfolding in real time, and it tells us a lot about how the Seahawks view both this draft class and their roster construction moving forward. What stands out here is how intentional this approach feels. Schneider has openly admitted the desire to move back, and when you connect that with reports that the Seahawks may not even have a first-round grade on a player available at 32, the picture becomes clearer. Seattle is looking at this board and seeing more value in quantity than in forcing a pick that doesn't meet their internal standards. That is a disciplined approach, and it aligns with how successful teams tend to operate during uncertain draft classes. Instead of reaching, they are positioning themselves to capitalize on other teams' urgency. And there are teams showing that urgency. The New York Jets and the Arizona Cardinals have both been linked as potential trade partners, particularly with quarterback interest driving their motivations. The 5th-year option tied to a late first-round pick becomes incredibly valuable in these situations, especially for teams looking to secure a young quarterback like Ty Simpson. If either of those teams believes they need to jump ahead of the other, Seattle suddenly gains leverage. Even more interesting is the Seahawks' willingness to deal within the division if the price is right. That's not something every team is comfortable doing, but it reflects confidence in their own evaluation process and long-term vision. Now imagine this scenario. Seattle moves back just a couple of spots, still stays within range of their target players, and picks up additional draft capital in the process. That's the kind of move that quietly builds a roster over time, and given that they only have 4 picks right now, adding even 1 or 2 more selections could completely reshape how this draft unfolds for them. It's not just about this year either, it's about maintaining flexibility and continuing to build a sustainable contender. But the trade-back discussion isn't the only thing gaining traction. There's also a developing situation involving center Olu Oluwatimi, and this is where things get even more intriguing. Oluwatimi, who was drafted out of Michigan and once seen as a future starter, now finds himself in a very different position under the new regime. With Mike Macdonald implementing a different offensive philosophy, the Seahawks are shifting toward a more mobile, zone-based blocking scheme. That kind of system demands agility and fluid movement from the center position, something that currently favors players like Jalen Sundell over a more power-oriented lineman like Oluwatimi. This isn't about Oluwatimi being a bad player. In fact, he still holds real value across the league, especially for teams that run gap-heavy schemes where his physicality can shine. The issue is fit, and in the NFL, fit can determine everything. Right now, he's no longer projected as the starting center in Seattle, and with his contract entering its final year, the timing of a potential move starts to make sense. According to insights from ESPN's Brady Henderson, there's a real possibility that Seattle could explore trading him, potentially for a day 3 pick, as a way to increase their draft capital without sacrificing a key starter. If that happens, it would be another clear signal that the Seahawks are fully committed to reshaping this roster around their new identity. They are not holding on to players for the sake of continuity. They are making decisions based on scheme, value, and long-term planning. And while moving on from a young player like Oluwatimi might raise eyebrows at first, the logic behind it is consistent with everything else we're seeing from this front office right now. At the same time, there's another layer to this story that hasn't gotten nearly enough attention, and it might actually be the most important takeaway of all. The culture inside the Seahawks organization appears to be evolving in a very powerful way under Mike Macdonald. There's a noticeable shift from the Pete Carroll era, not in terms of positivity or energy, but in how that energy is being directed. Players are still encouraged to be themselves, but now there's an added emphasis on accountability within the team structure, and the proof of that is already showing up. During voluntary off-season activities, several key players chose to be present even when they weren't required to be. Names like Devin Witherspoon, Jarran Reed, Derek Hall, Abe Lucas, Charles Cross, and others showed up ready to work, despite being given the option to stay away and recover. That kind of buy-in doesn't happen by accident. It reflects belief in the system, belief in the coaching staff, and belief in where this team is heading. Devin Witherspoon's presence is especially telling. Here's a player who is in the middle of contract considerations, someone who could easily justify sitting out or minimizing participation, yet he's there, putting in the work. That sends a message not just to the locker room, but to the entire fan base. It shows that players are invested, that they trust the direction of the franchise, and that they are willing to go the extra mile to build something meaningful. When you combine all of this, the aggressive trade-back strategy, the willingness to move players for the right value, and the strengthening culture inside the building, it becomes clear that the Seahawks are positioning themselves for more than just a single draft. They are laying the groundwork for sustained success. This is a team that understands where it stands and is making calculated moves to elevate itself, not just now, but for the future. So as the draft approaches and the rumors continue to build, one question really stands out for Seahawks fans. Do you agree with this approach of trading back and potentially moving on from players like Oluwatimi to build long-term value? Or would you rather see the team stay aggressive and target immediate impact talent at pick 32? And do you want me to create title ideas for this news? And this is where everything starts to connect in a way that should genuinely excite Seahawks fans. Because what we are seeing is not a team reacting under pressure, but a team operating with clarity. The willingness to trade back is not just about a lack of picks. It is about confidence in their board, confidence in their scouting department, and most importantly, confidence that they can still land impact players without forcing decisions. That patience is often what separates good drafts from great ones. Now, if we continue to follow this line of thinking, the potential Oluwatimi situation becomes even more strategic. Because if Seattle manages to turn a non-starting player into an additional draft pick, even if it is a Day 3 selection, that creates more opportunities to find depth, special teams contributors, or even developmental pieces that can grow into larger roles. We have seen time and time again that late-round picks, when used correctly, can become key contributors on playoff-caliber teams. So this is not a minor detail. This is part of a bigger roster-building philosophy that values flexibility over attachment. And let's be real about something here. This front office is not making these decisions in isolation. Everything is being shaped around Mike Macdonald's vision for the team. The shift in offensive line preference, moving toward more athletic and mobile linemen, is just one example of how the roster is being recalibrated. It tells you that Seattle is not trying to patch together an identity, they are building one intentionally. And when a player, even a talented one, doesn't align with that identity, tough decisions have to be made. At the same time, the culture element we talked about earlier cannot be overstated. Because talent alone does not win in the NFL. You need alignment, you need accountability, and you need players who are fully bought in. The fact that multiple players showed up during a voluntary phase speaks volumes about what is happening behind the scenes. That kind of commitment often translates directly onto the field when the season begins. Think about what that means in practical terms. When your leaders are setting the tone during the off-season, when they are choosing to be present, choosing to work, even when they are not required to, it creates a ripple effect throughout the entire roster. Younger players take notice. New additions adapt faster. Competition increases. And suddenly, you are not just building a team, you are building an environment where performance becomes the standard. And that brings us back to the draft, because culture and roster construction go hand in hand. If Seattle is able to execute even one of these potential moves, whether it is trading back from pick 32 or flipping a player like Oluwatimi for additional capital, they are giving themselves more chances to bring in players who fit that culture. Players who are not only talented, but aligned with the identity that Macdonald is trying to establish. There is also an under-the-radar advantage here that should not be ignored. When a team openly signals a willingness to move back, like Seattle has done, it can create a bidding environment. Teams that are desperate to move up may start competing against each other, driving up the price. And if that happens, the Seahawks could walk away with significantly more value than expected. That is how you quietly win a draft before even making your first selection. So, as we get closer and closer to draft night, all eyes should be on that 32nd pick. Not because of who Seattle might select there, but because of what they might turn it into. The real story may not be the player they draft, but the assets they accumulate and how those assets shape the roster moving forward. And if there is one final takeaway here, it is this. The Seahawks are operating with purpose. Every rumor, every report, every quote we are hearing points in the same direction. This is a team that understands its position, trusts its process, and is not afraid to make calculated moves to improve both now and in the future. Now, as all of this unfolds, the next step is yours. Stay locked in, because the draft is going to reveal exactly how serious Seattle is about executing this plan. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you are excited about these potential moves, and don't miss the next video that's already on your screen right now, because if you want the latest Seahawks updates first, this is where you'll find them every single time. Go Seahawks!